Hello. In last presentation we were talking about fracking and the risk of doing it. Just to inform that when you look for places in the United States with contaminated water, they have detected some places, although it's not been confirmed that it's because of the fracking. It's being investigated because it is possible that is because of the contamination from chemicals and things we use on those jobs. Another thing is that I would call it the selectiveness of the intervals that we're going to frack or stimulate when we are using chemicals to reduce damage. We have to do them, we need to try to do them selectively, because when we pump the treatments from surface, both heading, and we have a damage interval and we have non-damage interval. The fluids or the treatment is going to be taken from those that don't have the damage. And we need to place it where the damage is. So, try to do it mechanically isolating, or there are some chemicals like benzoic acid that are supposed, well, they work. They isolate when you pump the first stage of acid, and then you pump that acid, benzoic acid, to create a seal where the first treatment went, and then we can treat the next one and the next one. So it is very important that we isolate the intervals when we are doing a stimulation. So we are ready to know something about the reservoir and also about the plant of exploitation of our reservoir. So we're still here in our part, production, and then we have the reservoirs, the classification of reservoirs according to the fluids that we have in the porous media, in the reservoir, in the trap. So we have oil reservoirs. Those are reservoirs of fluids of oil with some gas. So the main product is oil, and we have some gas dissolved in the oil. And then we have black oil, which is what we call the change of carbons are kind of heavy and long, and the classification is light oil, medium oil, heavy, and extra heavy oil. Then we have the volatile oils, which is the molecules are lighter, like ethane, propane, butane, pentane, and hexane. And these are considered to be, the production of a lot of oil is different in black oil because of the installation. We don't want to lose too much gas. So we need to look for the best combination when we design the installation, so that we can get more liquid than gas. So it's an issue to design the installation. Then we have the gas reservoirs, which is where we have another classification of according to where in the phase envelope we are with the gas. So we have dry gas, wet gas, condensate gas, and retrograde condensate gas. So we have a classification there with the gas also. So in this particular envelope, phase envelope, we have the oil reservoir. This is the critical point. That's where gas and liquid, they have about the same conditions. So we are in this part. So this is the initial pressure of the reservoir, and as we produce it, we go across the bubble point pressure and we get the first bubble of gas. And this is the process that we use to design our pressures in the separators. And we have to take into consideration our nodal analysis, the one we did when we were confirming and defining some options to improve or to optimize the production from the reservoir. So we cannot forget that, because this pressure could be too high, this separator pressure could be too high for our wells. I know a case in the Lake of Maracaibo where they designed this according to the phase diagram, but the pressure in the separator was around 300 and it was too high for the wells. And when the reservoir pressure fell, the wells couldn't handle it anymore. So they needed to invest a lot of money in the gas compressors to reduce the pressure so that the wells could flow easily to the flow stations. So when we design this separator pressure, we should not forget our nodal analysis. So then we have the gas reservoir that we are very far from the critical point, and as we produce the well, we get only gas, except for small amount of liquid in the separator. But we will never reach this part of the business, okay? That's where we should try not to get there. So we're producing gas and some liquid. And then we get the gas condensate, retrograde condensate. That's when we reduce the pressure. We're getting liquid instead of gas. That's why it's called condensate, retrograde condensate. Next thing we're gonna talk about here is calculation of the reserves. So when we do this, we know the area of our trap. So we know the area and we know the water saturation. That tells us how much of that porous media is occupied by oil. And so we know how much is occupied by oil, and then we have the recovery factor. We have to multiply the area by the recovery factor. That depends on what drive mechanism we have in the reservoir. So we could have a water drive where the pressure won't fall too much, and we could have a good recovery factor for those cases. But if we have gas dissolved, the pressure can fall very fast, and we need to apply some water injection projects so that we can improve or optimize the recovery factor. So depending on what we have as the driving, the pushing of the fluids from the energy in the reservoir, we estimate or calculate the recovery factor. Then we got the formation volume factor that converts or the bottom hole fluids or barrels to surface bubbles. In that way, we calculate how much oil we can recover from this reservoir. Okay? And this is an example of an exploitation plan that we went through all the stages, and but because of the time we didn't do the simulations of the reservoir to see if injecting water we could keep the pressure in, we could maintain the pressure and improve the recovery factor. But the first stage is to calculate the oil in place that we just saw. Then, because we know from the geologists and the geophysicists how the closest of the traps are, you know, and how much from where, from what depth is water, you know. So we calculate how much oil we have, in the truck, then according to, and then we apply some probabilistic, you know, analysis, and then we know how much exactly we have the probability of having those barrels. Then we decide how many wells we can drill to consume all those reserves, and then we do the forecast of production, you know, with the energy available and how much we're going to be draining from that truck. We can see how much in time we're going to produce. Then we designed the best well to develop these reserves. In this particular case, because we had some different intervals, and they were not very thick, so a horizontal well could not be the answer to develop the reserves. We went with a slant well to be fracture and optimize the productivity of those wells. The wells, because the API gravity and the viscosity was kind of low, viscosity kind of high, and API gravity kind of low, so we knew that we needed to frac the wells. So that's something we know. And this is something about the infrastructure to develop those reserves. Small infrastructures. We didn't want to build CPF big because we wanted to. The best case was to rent them, have them rented, and that's how we run the economics. And then we saw that with today and some risk of lowering the oil prices, the project could take place. The net present value was okay, and the risk, the operational or technical risk were low, and then we decided that this project was possible, was economical for the company. So then we have something about the reserves, the proven reserves, which are those reserves where there are no risk in geology and the engineering, and the wells that I drill tell me that the oil is there. So we can call it proven reserves. Then developed reserves are those reserves that are there and that can be developed, but they don't need a rig to open to produce them. This non-developed reserves is because we know they're there, but we haven't drilled wells to confirm that they are there. So we need wells. And then we have what they call the probable reserves. Are the volumes estimated hydrocarbon associated to a non-accumulation. But the geology and today's economic are not possible to produce them. Impossible is we need too much information to make it go across this process. So as long as you have good information, you are in this part of the picture, and it gets worse when you don't have good information. And if you want to move from here to here and convince the government about your reserves, you need to take information, drill wells, and have the facilities to produce those reserves. I'm sorry about my explanation about this, but it's there, and you can translate it, and it's everywhere. Okay? Thank you very much. I'll see you next presentation.